I now like to call this week's edition of Kiwanis Connects to order. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and happy July 4th Eve. As you can see, I'm already in the spirit. Uncle Sam, Uncle Voice, I guess is really what it should be. Joining me from her parked car in order to get the internet access. Things are back to normal. Now that she's back home from Manila is our new Kiwanis International Trustee of North America, my dear friend, Doc Val. I feel like we should be playing the presidential theme in the background there as I'm doing this introduction. Also joining us, as you see on the screen, is a returning guest from Manila. We spared every expense to bring him in. He went from Manila to Bakersfield. He is the current incoming president for the next 2 years. He is Seth Hewitt. Good morning, Seth. Good morning, Doc Val. How's everybody on this July 3rd, 2026?
Aloha.
Yeah. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm still on Manila time, but, I'm feeling great. I fortunately am feeling good. I heard a few people are suffering with pneumonia today.
Oh yeah, it's it's if it's a germ, I'm going to catch it. And I found 2 sets of germs, so I'm not going to tell you about one of them, but I will tell you that pneumonia is no joke.
No, and once you get, have you ever had pneumonia before, Val?
I have, but not this bad before.
Gotcha. Because the rumor has it that once you get pneumonia, your body's very susceptible over the course of time to continue to get pneumonia. Is that true? You're a doctor, so wait, is that true?
I'm not that kind of doctor, but I'm feeling like one right now. And so what my doctor shared with me on this one is it's bacterial pneumonia, so it's environmental.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yikes. Well, get well soon. I know everybody out there in our Kiwanis verse, as you like to call it, is sending positive vibes to our new Kiwanis International Trustee, Doc Val. And as much as we wish she was home doing this, she lost power already. She's back from Manila only a couple of days. And yes, that internet's back to normal. We actually had better success with you being 5,000 miles away in Manila with the internet than you being back here at home. It's crazy how this stuff works. Well, listen, we want to thank everybody for joining us. As you know, we're on 3 Facebook pages, 3 YouTube channels, and every Sunday, 8 a.m., you can find us on WWDBTV.com as we re-air all of our episodes on that network as well. We want to thank you for tuning in. I think last week I kept getting messages all week long and comments on last week's show coming from Manila. It was quite the episode. Let's start off with the bang before we get started with Seth. I have his introduction. I'll do the formal introduction here in a moment. But part of last week's episode was, as you see Doc Val wearing her Kiwanis Connects show jersey, we were raising funds. I'm going generic because I didn't want the black and pink to clash with my hat today. So I figured I would stick with red, white, and blue no matter how I got there. So the Chesapeake Kiwanis Club, my home club, we are raising funds as part of, yes, a float-a-thon where we just get paid to sit in the pool next Saturday to raise funds for Jonathan Cares, a previous guest here on our show here in the Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area. They deliver food courtesy of Wegmans, and we want to thank Wegmans for donating their unused stuff to the local community. And so we put out a challenge, 2 weeks prior to last week, Val. I had offered $10 on that episode for every jersey that made it to Manila and made it on air. And you countered by saying for everybody that could not go to convention that would post a picture in the Kiwanis Connects jersey, you would match the $10. Fast forward to last week, we go live on the air. We recap the fundraiser. And some little birdie named Doc Val said $20 a jersey. I said, $20 a jersey? I thought, all right, we'll go $20 a jersey. Well, here's the coincidental part. Per Judy, who was the official counter in Manila with you, and I had my own cheat sheet, not that I didn't trust her, but I was counting as well. We had not 1, not 2. We had 15 jerseys make an appearance on camera, although I think there were some that looked very familiar over the course of a couple of people, but that's okay. It made it on air. At $15 for $20 a shirt, that's $300 coming from this half of Kiwanis Connects. Then, not to be outdone, all the jerseys from the people that did not make it to Manila that made it on air, including 2 young ladies that were visiting us from Las Vegas. we kind of followed suit with what was going on in Manila. They donned the Kiwanis Connects we had hanging around here. We made it even. We got $300 coming from those who did not get to Manila. So thank you to everybody out there. And look, if the float-a-thon is next Saturday, I would say if anybody dons any jerseys that manage, like for instance, your friends Bev and Mikkel, their jerseys are on the way to them to Guam. So they should be getting them soon. Heck, if you order any jerseys, I say we make it an ongoing fundraiser for either Jonathan Cares or we could pick a new fundraiser. But anyway, we raised $600 courtesy of the Kiwanis Connect show, which I will be happy to present at the event next week. Herman, we're reading the Declaration of Independence at our celebration of 29 Palms. Yes, Herman, thank you. And congratulations to Doc Val from Herman. And so that's the update, $600 going. Plus, if you missed that and you don't have a jersey, but you want to contribute, I do have a birthday fundraiser going on right now on my Facebook page, just looking for any donation towards Jonathan Cares. I will add that to our total from Kiwanis Connects. We have 2 more days. My birthday's on Sunday. We're at $201. Boy, I'd love to hit 500 if we can, but anything to the good to help Jonathan Cares and what they do is tremendous. All right. So without further
so Aaron, I do want to throw somebody under the bus on the $20. And so the person who's been on our show the most is John Crawford. And he mentioned that it was 20, not 10. So if anybody had done the correction, it was John. And I want to know when John logs in what his favorite color is, because he doesn't really like the pink. And I'm thinking if he likes purple, do you think we can get these instead of being pink in the Kiwanis? It could be purple.
You know what? In all honesty, if we need to make an exception for Crawford because all that he does for this show and support and promote, I know somebody that knows some people. If you know what I'm saying, we can always change the pink to purple if that's what he really needs.
And I would get a second shirt at that rate because you know me in purple. So, and I think Seth is going to ultimately need one as well. So.
Absolutely, we can make it. But if we want to switch more to a purple. Absolutely, we can certainly do that. Favorite colors: Padres brown and Kiwanis blue. Now you're going a little too far here, Crawford. This isn't Burton. This ain't Burton.
Recycling jerseys during the Manila live stream, you caught us red, white, and blue-handed. So I definitely need to pick up one for myself. And if we're talking additional colors, I might have to pick up a couple.
Well, I'll tell you what. After the show, I will email you the details for cost. If you give me a color combination and I can see if I can get it done, I will be happy to accommodate per jersey. Nagel says, so you know a guy who knows a guy. Yeah, I know a guy, all right. Even Nagel cost me money going to Manila because he donned the Kiwanis Connects jersey, that Huckleberry. He ought to buy his own jersey for crying out loud to support the show. But anyway, if that's what they want, we could certainly do that. I can ask that for people, but I think we do need to switch the pink to the purple to be consistent with our branding, plus purple is your color. But if there are special orders, just, we'll address them as they come to see if I can make them happen with no promises. How's that sound?
Sounds really good. And I'm so jazzed, and having Seth here is so important because while we were at Manila and we were probably in the wealthiest section of the Philippines, it was absolutely over the top amazing. It was a great cultural experience. But in talking with Seth, and one of the reasons why I brought him on board was because he did something that I thought so few people have done. And so I'm hoping you've got a really good introduction to him because we've made him wait almost 10 minutes to be able to share a story.
I know, but he's a good sport. So
he's a great sport.
I am going to do the intro that he prepared. So if it's not up to standards, you can yell at him, Doc Val. Seth is preparing to begin a 2-year term as president of Kern Kiwanis, where he's dedicated to serving children and strengthening communities, both locally and abroad. And we'll talk about how that falls in line. He also serves as division chair for Teen Government Day and teaches elementary Sunday school at his local church. Seth is passionate about developing the next generation through service, leadership, and mentorship as he prepares for a future in local public service. And he's also preparing a video as part of his trip out there, Philippines earthquake coverage and government response. So we'll talk a little bit about that in his Kiwanis jersey and why he is tipping the scale on the average age of Kiwanians at this time and why he is a leader in bringing the younger age and demographic into Kiwanis. Please welcome Seth Hewitt to the show.
Woo! Well, thank you so much for having me. What a privilege to be back. I only got about 5 minutes on the show last time, and my goodness, I'm very happy to be seeing some familiar faces once again. So hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
I think I found my replacement in case I don't come back to the show in the future. Just saying.
Well, you're going to be busy the next, during your term. I'm anticipating sometimes when you're going to say, "Hey, I just can't make it because I'm in working somewhere." So we can always line up guest hosts like Seth. Absolutely.
Doug Val, you set the bar a little too high. I'm going to definitely need some practice laps.
So, Seth, one of the things that I thought was pretty amazing in meeting you, you just jumped right in. Was this your first international convention, or was this old hat for you?
Yeah, this was my first international convention with Kiwanis. Not my first time abroad, but definitely with Kiwanis. Now I've done the district conventions, divisional, but this was the first time for me actually seeing our global community. And it was pretty phenomenal. I really enjoyed my time there in Manila.
No, I was so impressed with you because not only did you go to convention, but you actually did an adventure beforehand. Most people don't because they're so tunnel visioned into the process. And so can you share your adventure down to the earthquake-ridden zone? Because I was shocked that you were able to have access.
Yeah, well, thank you, Val. And when I was planning this trip, originally I was wanting to bring two of my friends here from Bakersfield with me so we could go explore the sites in Manila. But when they bailed out on our plans about 2 weeks ahead of time, I said, you know what, I need to do something else rather than sitting in my hotel. And so I was looking at a lot of the news coverage around the Philippines, and I saw that devastating 7.8 magnitude earthquake that took place along the southern coast near the Sarangani province. And there was a city down there called General Santos. They call it Gensan, the home of Manny Pacquiao, the tuna capital of the Philippines. I said, you know what? I have a few days. Why not fly down there with no contacts on the ground, with absolutely no idea what I was going to do. I just prayed and said, God, I want to be of some support. So I reached out to the Red Cross, Habitat for Humanity. Nobody got back to me. And after a few follow-up emails, I figured, you know what, I'm going to do something independent down there. And at first I thought maybe I'd be doing some debris removal. Maybe I'd be meeting up with some local churches. But I ended up meeting some incredible locals, and the locals brought me deep into the community where the government hasn't necessarily responded to yet. And I got to sit with families who were in the rubble of their homes. Some of them lost neighbors, family members. And I was able to hear their stories and set up some 5. I've never done a GoFundMe before, let alone 5, but I set up 5 GoFundMes for these families. And so I'll be able to help tell their story through this video that I've created. And it's not going to be all doom and gloom. It was a very wholesome trip. And we heard a lot about the Filipino spirit, and man, I got to see it. Even in the rubble of their homes, they still had so much reason to be grateful and smile and loving and welcoming. And just one scene here. There was the second time I went around to this neighborhood to check back in on them and to make sure I had all their information correct. One of the families was eating food, and all their food was just covered in flies. I mean, they're living outside their home on cots, and I think they had 4 daughters, and their food was covered in flies. They probably they didn't necessarily have cold storage, and they were offering me food, and they were like, hey, come take a seat. Do you want some food? It was one of the sweetest gestures I've ever seen in my life. And so I'm absolutely committed to loving on that family the best I can and telling a great story along with it.
Well, one of the things about the Filipino community, and by the way, if you're watching right now, it looks like Val got dropped off her internet connection, or her phone must have died, one or the other. So do not adjust your sets. The Filipino community is known to be a very family intertwined community, and it's not surprising that they treated you that way. They treated you in a way that they just enveloped you right in, and whatever they had, they were willing to share. And I think that's just a testament to the Filipino culture that is standard in their lifestyle, is family and supporting, that whatever we have, we share, right?
Certainly. And it was the sweetest thing in the world. They're even taking me through the parts of their home where the roof was coming down. It was very dangerous, but they just really wanted to show both me as well as the world, hey, this is what happened here. And although they were in this very downtrodden position, still they felt a lot of hope and optimism that things were going to be okay. Now, the government hadn't even stepped foot on their street yet, but still they had such a faith. And I got to tell you, it was quite contagious.
I'm sure it was. Here's what we're going to do. Judy Goat says, just so you know, Seth is from Division 33, and I'm so proud of him. John, let's step aside for our first break, hoping that it'll give Val an extra couple of minutes to try to reconnect. If not, I think Seth and I can hold it down. I know what we're going to cover today until Val can reconnect. Of course, we have all of our normal stuff as well. Hopefully, bad dad jokes. I got some July 4th themed bad dad jokes, and I understand that Seth may have a couple also for us. Melissa Atwell's mental health moment and the rest of the stuff, Val's wow, and Kiwanis projects that we're going to talk about as well. You're watching Kiwanis Connects, more with Seth, hopefully Doc, Val, and the rest of you. We'll be right back. Imagine being able to golf no matter the weather or time of day. Well, now you can at Back 9 Great Bridge in Chesapeake. Grab your clubs and swing by for the next level of golf. Back 9 is open 24/7. Play on your own schedule, get pro-level swing data, and much more. Try St. Andrews, then Pebble Beach to test your skills. It's also a great way to start playing golf without the distractions, pressure, or cost of playing 18 holes outside. Back 9 offers individual and corporate memberships to fit your needs. Back 9 is now open at 500 South Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Visit our website for more information. Level up your game without stepping on the course with Back 9. Hi, I'm Hall of Fame broadcaster and local TV host Aaron Phillips. Are you interested in hosting a podcast? I offer a podcast seminar where I share the information you need to set up your podcast for success. Some of the topics that I cover include basic terminology, how to do a successful interview, who to target as a potential advertiser, and more. For more information, visit thevoiceof757.com or email me directly at aaron@thevoiceof757.com. Let my voice speak to you. Hey everybody, Aaron Phillips here from the Kiwanis Connect show. Are you trying to recruit for new members? Do you have a huge event coming up that maybe is your biggest fundraiser of the year? But you need to do something different to let people know that it's happening. The same old gives you the same old routine and results. Well, we've got an idea for you. The Kiwanis Connect show offers the opportunity to have customized commercials created to help your club get your message out. And you know what? One of the extra wonderful points of this opportunity is we provide it as a fundraising opportunity. For every $50 donation for the commercial goes to the Rose Float Kiwanis Club. That's right. The very same Rose Float that we see on television every New Year's that represents Kiwanis International will now be supported by these Kiwanis Connects commercials. So, if you want more information to get involved, just drop us an email at KiwanisConnectsInfo@gmail.com. That's KiwanisConnectsInfo@gmail.com. Get your 30, 60, or 90-second customized commercial today, and let's help the Rose Float Kiwanis Club continue to plant its seeds for success. All right, welcome back to Kiwanis Connects. It looks like we put some more quarters in the slot. We got our internet working again there. Doc Val is back with us. Seth Hewitt joins us. If you recall, Seth was with us in Manila, and we're just kind of talking about the efforts that he did in the earthquake-stricken areas of the Philippines prior to the convention, and a documentary that he is working on that'll be made available very soon as all that wonderful editing time is done. So, Doc Val, I'll throw it back to you to pick it up and continue on.
Well, one of the things that I had really hoped that Kiwanis overall would have been able to do was a service project in the area. And so, Seth, I was really wondering, are they at a point where they know what they need and Kiwanis can help? Or is it still in the early days of
You know,
figuring this
they
out?
really are. Yeah, and thank you for that question. There's been a lot of relief agencies that have stepped into the area. About 54 evac centers have been set up, but we're talking about 3,000 destroyed homes, 32,000 buildings that have suffered damages. So right now you have some government response, but they're spread quite thin. The main points of support that I've heard were mainly from some of those agencies, such as a volunteer fire brigade. They were talking about how they just lack equipment and resources. And from those families in particular, a lot of that was just some attention on what was going on because they felt very isolated. They were outside of the main metro area where you have a lot of the government focus because that's where your goods are moving through. That's where a lot of the foot traffic is. And so the government is still on those early stages of branching out and getting a full sense of what happened to our city.
You know, and I know Kiwanis is the most powerful after all the shiny lights go off and all the agencies kind of meld into the next crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at, you know, when we did relief in Lahaina and Maui, and when Kiwanis dealt with the hurricanes back east and there was flooding to the point where full towns were gone, and after tornadoes, when the lights are on and the stars are in town, there's not much space for Kiwanis to step in. But I'm really hoping that we will be able to activate the Kiwanians to feed the folks that are in that southern region, because I can see shortages on food coming really soon if they're not already happening. What was the living condition for those people that, you know, those 3,000 homes that are evacuated? Did they get relocated somewhere completely different? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I just mentioned they had 54 evacuation centers set up, but I'll tell you, those aren't even at full occupancy. A lot of the families don't even want to leave their properties, and so they will be camped out front of their destroyed home because they're worried about people coming through and rummaging through their property, pilfering what's left. And so those are some pretty sad sights. But you had governments like the People's Republic of China that sent these tents out, and very similar to those I forget what they're called, the sun visors that you put in your windshield of your car to prevent heat from getting in. They look very similar to that. There are these collapsible circular rings that open up into this tent that can fit about 8 to 10 family members. Unbelievable sight. Now, seeing that in the Central Park of General Santos, they had about 400 of those delivered. And so right now, a lot of people are outside their homes, whether that's with an easy up or whether that's with a cot in the sun or out of the back of a car. I would want to say where at least 40% of the population is currently.
So here's what I find unfortunate is that Mother Nature is really wreaking havoc on our globe. I mean, we have what's going on in Manila, and then look what's going on in Venezuela. I mean, they just had a third earthquake, I believe, earlier this week after two basically back-to-back, I guess, last week or 10 days ago. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the person upstairs or Mother Nature thinks Kiwanians need more service hours, but you know, this is getting a little crazy that, you know, we have all these natural disasters, and I guess what positive light on this, Seth, is that you're putting a positive spotlight, and yes, it's doom and gloom. It's not a good situation, but seeing that through every weed bed, there are plenty of roses that come through, gives us hope that people can recover. And even though they may be smiling, they still need help and support from around the globe or their neighbor, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so well said, too. But there is still a lot of distrust from the people in their own government. Oftentimes when international relief is sent or funds are collected, how much of that actually goes down to the people? And so one of the most reoccurring stories I heard was, hey, if you're going to do any support for us, try to do that through the local churches. Try to do that directly with the families. Because as soon as and not for every nonprofit, but as soon as you start sending money through nonprofits, a lot of that fund gets held up in different administrative fees or certain things that just don't really track the money down to the people. And so that's what we're really trying to do, is keep a direct focus with this recovery.
And a lot of that's cultural. You know, there are certain countries where there are different levels of payment that are expected in order to provide services, and it it doesn't always fit our paradigm of help. Um, but during times like this, I know it like you were saying, um, you don't want to be judgmental in how it works, but being able to work within the confines that will best reach the people. And Kiwanis is one of those groups. The Philippines has one of the largest population of Kiwanians. I think we saw that at Kiwanis International.
Oh yeah.
There were so many Kiwanis clubs in the Philippines um, that are providing amazing support and services to individuals. And so I know that they work directly through the churches and the independent schools. And so as we find out more information, your sources may be even more valuable than you think, because even a lot of the local clubs had no idea about what's going on down there, because I don't think we had any clubs in the local area that was affected the most.
Yeah. You know, I'm typically watching the global news media, and so I have a good sense of what's going on around the world. But I think sometimes with our American news consumption, it's one subject and then on to the next subject. And so oftentimes things that even happened on the 8th of last month are kind of becoming a faded memory. And so how do we, very similarly to an earthquake, kind of be that aftershock of how do we still keep some sort of attention on this? This is going to be something that's going to take 3 years rebuilding, probably longer. And that was one of the hardest questions to ask too. I felt very naive, and it left my mouth a few times. I would ask, how long until you think this gets rebuilt? And then it dawned on me, Seth, what a ridiculous question to ask. These things are so complex.
Absolutely. But you know what it is, unfortunately, like you said, I mean, if people have to face these things, and we've seen natural disasters not only across the globe, but here in the US when it comes to the earthquakes and the flooding, we've seen when things don't work, and you would think we would be better at it. And our countries know better at times. I mean, that's why when you hear these disasters locally, the Red Cross is the best place to make donations, because the funds will go where it's needed. When Hawaii had built, there was a monopoly on the costs and what it was going to take to ship lumber out there, because it's not easy. Well, I mean, how easy is it going to get resources out to those folks? Do you have any idea how easy it's going to be for resources?
Well, you know, I did a school drive to Uganda, to a very rural village called Wabalungu back in 2024. And I thought it would be as easy as collecting school supplies here in Bakersfield and then mailing them over. And then I saw the price tag on that of being near $3,000. So I decided to load them all up into 3 bags and bring them all the way to the school myself. And that was difficult. That is not feasible for this type of support regarding earthquakes. But once you get those local contacts, what I've found is that purchasing the items that are needed locally is always the best way to do it. And so, yeah, having those connections with even different, I had a chance to go interview a local fire station in General Santos. And even a collection point like that is something that you can trust. It's the firemen there already know the pain points in the community. And they also have the vehicles and the apparatus to be able to deliver those. Because you have to think about delivery too. How do you get the boots on the ground to get the supplies where they're needed? Well, I think firemen are everyone's best friend. So that would be one collective outfit that could be used.
Absolutely. If you would like, if you can email me those GoFundMe accounts when you have some time, I can put them up on the Kiwanis Connects page. If you have one in mind, if you want to put it in the private chat, John can pick it up and we can put it as a crawl. Or if you have a general website housing all this information, put that in the private chat and we can run it as a crawl as well to get people's attention to what you're doing and putting a spotlight on it. All right. I want to change gears a little bit, because if I know Val, she probably has a lot of questions still pertaining to the earthquake coverage and all that you're doing. So I want to leave a little space for her on that. But I want to go back to something that we touched on with you in Manila, and that is, look, you're probably as young as my own kids are in terms of age and your experience on this planet. So I want to talk about, because one of the fallacies and the thing about Kiwanis we have some, let's just say, some seasoned Kiwanians around the globe, and there's always the struggles with some of those experienced clubs bringing in a young generation like yourself with as we like to say from the old world, filled with piss and vinegar, who wants to get out there and do stuff. So I want to ask generally, what was your attraction to Kiwanis? What, as you had choices, you're a young guy. What is the attraction for you, and what do you think the attraction is for others to come to Kiwanis to, shall we say, tilt the experience, the median age of Kiwanis back down the slope? Talk about that, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. Now, growing up, I've always been service-oriented, service-minded. In my senior year of high school, for example, I was involved in 12 clubs and president of about 3 or 4 of them, and most of which were service-oriented. But then college comes around, and all of a sudden, now you're having to worry about a job and college tuition, and there's just a lot of competing interests going on. And so I fell out of that service loop. Now I was able to do some independent stuff myself with the homeless population that I could do kind of on my own time. But when it came to joining an official club, it was very hard for me. So then fast track a couple years, and now I'm out of college and back in my hometown. I was working in disaster restoration, funny enough, for residential homes. And I was a speaker at a local Kiwanis chapter. Now, I knew my great-grandfather was involved in Kiwanis back in the 70s and 80s. However, I never knew which club. That was kind of a torch of leadership that never really got passed down in our family. And so while I was speaking at this club, I mentioned my great-grandfather, and they said, wait a minute, that was one of our former presidents, Walter Heisey? And they started telling me all these incredible stories about him. And I said, you know what? This might be the organization that I want to be a part of. And I've even here on this table next to me, I have my great-grandfather's old Kiwanis meeting bell.
There you go. That's exactly what I was ringing at the start, was the mini bell.
That's right. That's right. And I've had that for years and years and years, but now I see it in such a different light because I'm in this group. And coming in as a young person, I think, real quick, let me preface by saying, in my generation, there's this, I would say, what do you call it? Instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Right. Oftentimes, I think my generation's kind of conditioned into that instant gratification. And so things like volunteering, when there's not an immediate return on investment, right, oftentimes young people just can't really see the long-term vision there. And so I've been pitching Kiwanis to a lot of young people saying, hey, come on, don't you see it the way I do? And it's really hard for them to actually understand, hey, what are we doing here? Yeah, we're paying dues, but also we're doing service projects, and this is a great opportunity to network and to learn transferable skills. But really getting that message across has been difficult. And I think that's probably an issue with how we communicate ourselves and our presence as a club.
Yeah, and it's funny, you mentioned the legacy and your grandfather's meeting bell. I had a lunch meeting with a person, breakfast meeting this past week, and I met her at a gala for a nonprofit. I was emceeing the gala, and we started talking, and I was talking about Kiwanis. I was inviting her to and she's a young individual like yourself. And then I mentioned Key Club and Circle K, and all of a sudden she pauses for a second, and she says, I was a member of Key Club. And what we're finding is that many members of Key Club don't realize what Kiwanis is in terms of the relationship to Key Club. And that's a topic for a whole nother show, as to the disconnect. But once I made that connection, and she goes, oh, Kiwanis and Key Club, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? She came to the meeting last week to sit in. She loved it. And now we're talking about her becoming a member. So that legacy, that unknown legacy, is quite interesting. And unfortunately, it further puts under the microscope the fact that many Key Clubbers, many Circle Kers don't know and understand, even know what Kiwanis is in relation to their service club. Mm-hmm. But mentioning that legacy brings the big light bulb on and goes, aha, I get it now. Come full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so grateful that I had some exposure in Key Club in high school. That was my first time ever being a part of Kiwanis. And I had my membership card from Key Club until my wallet got stolen, which was probably the one item I really needed out of there, was that card. But one of the things I appreciated about that organization, compared to some of the other ones that were focused on one issue, is that Key Club, we were all over the community helping with all sorts of different projects. And I loved that variety. I loved that some organizations, they are better suited for one cause. But I love that Kiwanis always kind of took a three-pronged approach when it came to serving the children in our community. And they always encouraged creativity and innovation. And if something worked well in the past, great. Let's absolutely reinforce that. But maybe this is a year where we try something new, and doors were always open for that. And so coming now into Kiwanis, well, I feel that same energy in my club. We want to approach serving our children with a variety of methods on how to do so. But also now stepping in as a young president, the doors are open for all sorts of new ideas. And yesterday we had a meeting, and I got a pitch what my 2-year plan would look like, what type of causes we're going to be going after. And boy, oh boy, I'm so excited. I really do think that our service project coming up is going to be one that you're going to see in Dallas during our next international convention, probably on the highlight reel.
Okay, well, I'm tentatively hoping to make Dallas happen for me. I was up in Pittsburgh last year for last year's international convention. And my very first international convention was back in, I think it was like 1990, 91, one of the early Las Vegas international conventions before I had moved out there. And I understand that Vegas will be another one after Dallas, I think, in 2028. So unfortunately, international travels for international conventions are not in my cards right now, but when they're relatively easy to get to here in the U.S., I love the conventions. I mean, it's a great opportunity to reconnect. I mentioned it last week in Pittsburgh. I saw people from my original Kiwanis Club in Homedale, New Jersey, and I hadn't seen them in 35 years, and it was so great to see them. It's such a very different platform. But for you as a young cat to get out there and have the voice of the younger community, especially in Cal Neva, I'm trying to bottle that up here in Virginia, and what I'm finding is the key to that legacy idea. And I know that's something that is a vital hook, if you will. I'm interested in finding out. We're going to talk about this on the other side of the break. We have one more commercial break I want to get to, since we're talking about that younger community. Is with this platform, I want to hear from you about what are some of the hooks in your plan to bring the younger folks, like John Crawford said in there, the 30-year-old and 40-year-old members should be treated as gold. And I want to hear from you about what we can do to make that happen. Hey, everybody. The downside is Doc Val's connection is not happening for her. So she is going to go back at home, back into bed, and maybe the phone caught the pneumonia. I don't know. But keep her in your thoughts and prayers. So it's just going to be Seth and I. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat room. YouTube, thank you for watching out there. Put your comments out there. John back in Vegas is picking them up as well. So we got a lot more to do with Kiwanis Connects. On the other side, more with Seth, bad dad jokes, Melissa Atwell's mental health moment, and all of you out there. Don't go anywhere. More to come right after this.
Kiwanis International is a global community of clubs, members, and partners dedicated to improving the lives of children, one community at a time. Today, we stand with more than 550,000 members, from K-Kids to Key Club to Kiwanis, for all ages in over 80 countries around the world. Each community has different needs, and Kiwanis empowers members to pursue creative ways to serve the needs of children, such as fighting hunger, improving literacy, and offering guidance. Kiwanis clubs host nearly 150,000 service projects each year.
For more information, contact Herman Platsky at KiwanisClub of29Palms.com.
Imagine being able to golf no matter the weather or time of day. Well, now you can at Back 9 Great Bridge in Chesapeake. Grab your clubs and swing by for the next level of golf. Back 9 is open 24/7, play on your own schedule, get pro-level swing data, and much more. Try St. Andrews, then Pebble Beach to test your skills. It's also a great way to start playing golf without the distractions, pressure, or cost of playing 18 holes outside. Back 9 offers individual and corporate memberships to fit your needs. Back 9 is now open at 500 South Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Visit our website for more information. Level up your game without stepping on the course with Back 9.
The Granville Allied Gardens Kiwanis Club was founded in 1960. We provide service to Allied Gardens, Granville, San Carlos, Del Cerro, and surrounding communities of San Diego. Our support extends to the youth of our community by sponsoring programs at Hearst Elementary School K-Kids, Lewis Middle School's Builders Club, Patrick Henry High School's Key Club, and San Diego State University Circle K. Some of our favorite events and charities we support include the First Friday Concerts in the Park, Patriotic Holiday Flags on Waring Road, Meals on Wheels, Cub Scouts, and the Allied Gardens Little League. Join our club. We are looking for people who care about making a difference for our children, for our community, and for our world. For more information about our Kiwanis Club and becoming a member, please visit www.alliedgardenskiwanis.org.
All right, welcome back to Kiwanis Connects. Thank you for joining us. Seth Hewitt joins us again today on today's show. He is the incoming president for the Kern Kiwanis Club of Bakersfield come October 1st. Doc Val, John, if you could please put up Val's comment in there. We're going to jump just a little ahead. Of course, one of the segments we'd like to do is Doc Val's wow moments of the week. And apparently, Mrs. Taylor Kelsey, yeah, right. Should be more like Travis Swift, to be honest with you. Taylor Swift is donating $26 million to small charities around the globe. And she is certainly, I give her credit for that. A lot of people sit on their riches, but she is shaking it up and making a difference in the world to those charities. I don't know if there's a list out there of the charities that will be the recipients. Would love to see if Kiwanis is on there at some point, or some of the disaster areas like Seth and I have been talking about in the Philippines and now Venezuela. But on the side note, on the lighter note, apparently she and Travis Kelsey have officially wed, I guess yesterday or the day before in a very private ceremony. Although I don't know how many people can really do this, but apparently she's booked Madison Square Garden for their party, home of the new the new NBA world champion, the New York Knickerbockers home arena. Anyway, Seth Hewitt joins us. We've been talking about everything from the disaster relief and coverage in the Philippines to Venezuela earthquakes and what to do about disaster relief and government support to what it's like to be a youngin' like this young cat over here. I think I got T-shirts older than him in my drawer to be part of Kiwanis, and why he chose let's see. Herman shares on CBS this morning. His group's all back east. Oh, you mean in my neck of the woods? All right. Well, there you go. Thank you, Travis, and thank you for Herman for sharing that. All right. So I left off before going to break. What can we put out there? What, as you call them, hooks, do you think should be out there for the younger community to be involved, get involved in Kiwanis, and really could continue to make Kiwanis a sustainable international organization? Seth, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, let me start by saying, Kiwanis, you are already everything that these young people are looking for. Oftentimes, some clubs, they feel as though they need to bring in young members, so they need to change up the things that makes Kiwanis Kiwanis. So what are the first things that are typically on the chopping block? The patriotic song, maybe the invocation, maybe saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I sure hope these things aren't on the chopping block, but I've heard these come up in conversation. Keep those things. The young people are swinging back on the pendulum towards tradition, and these are things that makes Kiwanis unique. Keep them. That's going to be part of the magnet. These young people, they already need to get volunteer hours to make themselves competitive in college or to brush up their job resumes. You have everything that they are looking for, but they just need to know who you are. And so what are we missing? Well, it's communicating what the organization is to them. Now, if your main projects are cleaning up streets, which is awesome, by the way, I'm one of the young people that loves that. Maybe these young people say, I'm going to be looking for something different. Maybe let me work in the hospitals and be a volunteer there. And maybe this will kind of segue into one of the projects that I'm doing is, if you do a service project that tells a story, that is what attracts these young people. All of our social media that goes across our screens, all these big YouTubers that are making tons of money, they do so well because they tell stories, even within their content that isn't necessarily like story oriented, but they're able to tell a story and it really grips our attention. Now, one example from our international convention, a project that got highlighted was from a community who they lost a child in the community due to malnourishment. And a Kiwanis chapter saw that and said, this was something so preventable. Our organization is going to step up and fill this vacuum of need. And they put together a kitchen that serves free meals. Other businesses caught wind of that because that is a contagious story that you're going to get a lot of free news coverage on. And so you have businesses supporting, and now you have this project with legacy impacts. That, I think, is where our minds need to be as Kiwanis chapters going into this next year. What are the vacuums of need that naturally tell a story? Because those stories are more attractive than you know to young Kiwanians, young professionals, young parents. They're going to see those things and say, that's the story I want to be a part of.
Well, there's one thing I want to just tag along on that comment about the type of service projects. One thing that makes every club unique, although we get directives from Kiwanis International, every club is autonomous. Every club is autonomous to what's important to their community. So as you said, club someone may be interested in joining may not want to be out on a Saturday when it's 130,000 degrees picking up trash, but they would want to go spend an hour, in an ER helping or in a children's room. That's okay. And if it's not on the docket, but it's something you want to do, trust me when I tell you, your local Kiwanis club will be more than happy to report those service hours under your name. And maybe the club will adopt that project as an ongoing service project to do so. So let's not lose sight of the fact that every club has so much that it can offer within their community. You don't have to participate in every event that your club does, especially if it's not of interest to you, right? I mean, let's just because you're joining a club doesn't mean you have to do everything that's on the slate that the club is doing.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, make a proposal of something different that you're doing that maybe the club will adopt, that the board of directors will consider it and do it. But I think that's well said, and I think that's something that makes Kiwanis unique on a whole. Yes, we have our directives, but at the same token, how we accomplish them is up to every individual Kiwanis club as it sees fit. There was one thing you mentioned though that about what might be on the chopping block, the Pledge of Allegiance and such. I would just tweak one thing. I don't mind. I love those things because they are tradition. However, the invocation, I would like to be considered more on the generic side of things because not everybody wants to say Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ's name, and all of that because of their own personal individual beliefs. And I think if we keep that in mind within the Kiwanis clubs when it comes to that invocation kind of thing, that would be the only thing I would tweak with that. Because being of the Jewish faith, I don't do that sort of things. That's just not my belief, although I do believe in a higher power. But I would just ask that we keep that cognizant. Elizabeth shares that her 101-year-old club brought back the patriotic songs. Absolutely. Some clubs do that. Some clubs don't. I think that's great. Just like being in school, right? We used to have to pledge and we would sing Star Spangled Banner, My Country 'Tis of Thee, whatever it is. Traditions is what a foundation should be about. And, just do what is fit for your club. The pledge is great. Invocations are great, depending on, how you do that. Heck, I did it once in Hebrew. I did an invocation in Hebrew and did it in the translation. You would think I was talking rocket science, but that's because members of my club were not really exposed to the type of pre-meal prayer that in a Jewish household one would do. So it would, we used to have a committee called Human and Spiritual Values. I don't think we do that much. I don't think we have that committee or that directive anymore, which is one of the reasons why I started doing that. Okay, enough about that. But yes, Elizabeth, thank you for sharing that. What else are you hearing from? What else would you like to see? What is in your term for your next 2 years? What are the things that what are some of the ideas that you're going to bring forth to your club to attract the younger generation to Kiwanis?
Yeah, well, real quick, I do kind of want to offer a little bit of a rebuttal on the invocation. I think it's a really cool thing that we don't only have one person doing the invocation every week. Some clubs probably do that, and that's all right. You probably have somebody who's really good at it, but it's something that we pass around. And so, Aaron, I'm really glad that you had an opportunity to be able to share your faith in that way, because what are we in Kiwanis? Well, we're a group that's exposed to a very diverse group of people. We don't serve selectively. We serve our community, and our community has a lot of different groups within it. Now, here in Bakersfield, we have a lot of individuals from the Sikh faith. And I think it would be incredible. One week we're doing an invocation and with Protestant roots. The next week, maybe it's more Catholic. The next week, maybe the Sikh member has an opportunity to do their type of blessing over the food. But it's the way that we do the invocation. I think it should always be in the spirit of positive energy of the group, always pursuing what's right for the community. But whenever we take our prayer sometimes and we make it a little bit more combative, maybe a little more political, that's where we get lost in the weeds. And then that invocation is not necessarily serving the club. But I think that moment when the club either bows their heads, close their eyes, or goes into silence, they say, you know what, there's something above us that is bigger than we can understand, and we're just humans. And it's that message of humility too, and that I think is so strong. We aren't the smartest in the room. We aren't the holier than thou. We are submissive in that moment. And so I really would argue for the invocation. But like you said, so certain clubs are going to do it different ways, and that's okay. I think it's a great opportunity to see how other groups practice their sentimentalities in those moments. I'll offer you a chance to respond if you like.
No. I don't take your reply as a rebuttal. I did not say to take the invocation out. I'm just inspirational moment. Herman just put that in there. I'm okay with an invocation, but keep in mind that the tone, as you talked about, of the invocation is not going to be for everyone because of the different beliefs. And I think that does get lost when it's the same person week after week who does it, and they have their. So I'm in 1,000% agreement with everything you said. It's not a rebuttal. I think we just have to keep in mind that one type of invocation is not going to fit all clubs because of the people involved. And I love the idea of rotating it around within different faiths and different representation to share it as just an exposure to different cultures. I love that idea. I think work for Kiwanians need to participate in the SLP project, be there in person. Thank you, John. I think that's a great thing for the younger community. The younger members get involved with our SLP programs. It'll continue to make them feel young if they become advisors or go to key club activities. I found that each club follows their club personality. Some do poems, some do prayers, and each week it is rotated. Absolutely, Judy. Thank you. All right. As much as I would love to, this is a great topic. I mean, I love when we talk about the different ideas within Kiwanis, but I am watching the big Kiwanis clock universe, and we are getting to that point. So I am going to, before I give you final thoughts at the end, after we liberate everybody with bad dad jokes and get that stuff out of the way, we'll have an opportunity to have you close out with some final thoughts. So John Crawford got us started during our conversation about invocations. And he says, why did the turtle enjoy watching fireworks on the 4th of July? Because it was a celebration. Oh my God. Thank you, John Crawford. Seth, do you have one or two bad dad jokes to get us started by chance?
Oh boy, as a 26-year-old, these might not be the best dad jokes, but
hey, listen, it can't be any worse than I deliver. So you're going to raise the bar for me.
Well, tell me, Aaron, why don't Americans tell knock-knock jokes on 4th of July?
Oh, it's funny. I read this. Should I spoil it? I'm going to
Spoil it.
I'm going to do it because freedom rings, ladies and gentlemen. I nailed that. First time I was able to nail somebody else's joke. You got another one for us?
You know what? Sure.
Uh-oh. You've locked up, Seth. Well, why are we unfreeze him, John? Let's go to Melissa Atwell's mental health moment.
Oh, it looks like...
Hi, I'm Melissa Atwell, founder and CEO of the Mental Health Moment. Today, I want to really point out that mental health is just health. It's not separate. Physical health, mental health. You don't ignore a broken bone, right? So don't ignore your mind when it's in pain. Prioritize your peace. Prioritize your mental health. Remember, take a moment for your mental health.
All right, welcome back. Thank you, Melissa, as always. Yes, Nagel, you can't believe you stayed up for this. Listen, you love staying up for these bad dad jokes no matter what. All right, let's get to it. John, let's hit the intro. Bad dad jokes. Here we go. All right, before I get to bad dad jokes, let me mention and thank you. Doc Val is watching us, so I need to make sure I stay on my best behavior here. This past week was the first chartered meeting of the brand new, the Mental Health Moment Las Vegas Kiwanis Club. President Melissa Atwell in charge. Doc Val and I are first members as well, but we're also going to be the club's, I want to say guidance counselors, because that's the first thing that comes to mind. But we're going to be there to make sure that we can help answer whatever Kiwanis related questions and things, as well as being members. So we had, I believe, I want to say between those in person at WWDBTV studios and those on Zoom, we had about 15 or so people on the first meeting. It's going to be a monthly meeting, the last Wednesday of every month. They've got service projects ready to rock and roll. So congratulations to Melissa Atwell and her team for the very first Mental Health Moment Las Vegas Kiwanis Club. These club names get longer and longer. The business cards are going to get longer and longer. All right. With that, let's get rocking and rolling with some Independence Day, Father's Day jokes. So here you go. What did the Lego people in the Lego City neighborhood do for the 4th of July, Seth? What do you think they did?
They threw a block party.
Yes!
Whoa! Bang!
Yes!
Woo!
Even the score on me. Yes, thank you, Nagel. That is correct. Club coach, thank you. But yes, they hold a block party. There you go. Here's an interesting question. How many countries have a 4th of July?
One?
All of them.
All of them. Yes, all of them, John, because it's on everybody's calendar. Exactly right. Here you go. What did the colonists wear to the Boston Tea Party? What did the colonists wear to the Boston Tea Party?
Trousers?
T-shirts, of course. Go on now. All right, next one. All right, keep those comments coming because I'm staying on the air. Doggone it. Here you go. Where was the Declaration of Independence signed?
At the bottom.
Oh, go to your room, John. Yes, at the bottom, of course. So Seth, I want you to know, on my list to do today was your knock-knock joke. I actually had that on my list as one I was going to share. So great minds, buddy. Great minds, my friend. All right.
Must be.
What kind of tea did the American colonists want? What
Would
kind
that be liberty?
Yes! Yes! Liberty! Oh, we're on a roll. What does the Statue of Liberty stand for? What does the Statue of Liberty stand for?
Because there's no place to sit down.
Right, you can't sit down. Oh my God. Did you guys read these? Somebody give me my list of jokes.
Wow.
All right, last one before we get out of Dodge here. What ghost haunted King George III? What?
The Holy Ghost?
No, that's not bad, but no, thank you for playing. No, the spirit of 76. Come on now, the spirit of 76. And that does it for this week's actually very cooperative Independence Day bad dad jokes. Everybody had answers for them, which is great. Of course, it's probably not hard to quickly Google Independence Day jokes. But anyway, that does it for that. All right. Before we say goodbye, Seth, I want to give you the last minute or so for final thoughts on whatever you want to share with our audience out there. So take it away.
Aaron, thank you so much for having me on today. You and your team are absolutely outstanding, and I really appreciate this show that you put on for our community because it's so important to have something like this that we could tune into every week. And you just got yourself a new viewer, all right? So see me in the comments section next week. But folks, from me to your Kiwanis chapters, let me just tell you, you are perfect. Your clubs are perfect. You are everything that a young person wants and more. Just really find that vacuum. Tell that story, whether it's in your service projects or who you are as an organization. That's going to bring these young people. But don't go quick to changing your club up. Maybe there's going to be room for that here and there. But as of right now, just be so proud of who you are because that pride is so contagious. And these young people are looking for sources of pride everywhere. Show them that they can find that pride in Kiwanis. God bless you. And thank you so much for having me on today.
Listen, I know I'm going to cross a line that we normally don't do, and I know you're going to be entering a world of real politics in the future. But at this point, if you're going to become president of the U.S. number 50 something or other or whatever, I'm voting for you. I don't care what it is. I got that. You got me. You got me as a fan of you, my friend. All right, everybody, listen. First of all, a couple of quick programming notes. Tomorrow's Aaron's Hour from 11 a.m. until noon is going to be a re-air of last week's show with Jeff Zeber from Mosquito Joe's Why, because once this show hits, I'm taking the rest of the weekend off. My birthday is Sunday. It's hotter than blazes out here. I'm going in the pool right afterwards. So this is it. Now, local time, 12:30 Eastern, or early next week on Facebook, the Voice of 757 TV show, which you'll find on Sky 4 locally, is the final installment, part 3, with my interview with Coach Chuck Hatcher, basketball legend here in the Hampton Roads and on a global scale, and former heavyweight boxing champ James Bone Crusher Smith, who's got the biggest fists I've ever seen in my life. Part 3 of that, the final episode, will be airing tomorrow. With that, everybody, listen, be kind to everybody. Why? We are all we have. But please, next week when we reconvene for Kiwanis Connects, I want to make sure you're all safe. So please, if you're going to do fireworks, don't light them in your hand. Don't pull a Jason Pierre-Paul from a few years ago. Please be safe. If you are going to drink and enjoy, get a designated driver, get Uber, whatever it is, and be safe, because I want you all back here next week for our next edition of Kiwanis Connects. Special shout out to Doc Val. Please get well soon and get back under those covers. If you need some chicken soup, I can send some out to you, some real Jewish penicillin. All right, Seth, thank you for joining us. John, back there in Vegas, be safe this weekend out there with all the crazies for July 4th. And everybody, thank you again for joining us. Kiwanis Connects will be back next week. This show is adjourned.